I'm May Chenquintino, the CEO of Hello Sponsor, and I'm joined today by David Henzel, the CEO and founder of TaskDrive. David, I'm super excited to chat with you today and hear more about your experience with events and how they're moving TaskDrive's business forward or your own initiatives forward.
Yay, thank you for having me on the show. Super excited to talk about events, one of my favorite things to do.
Awesome. Yeah, we're so honored to have you. So I'd love to hear in your words a little bit about yourself and TaskDrive and what you're working on.
All right, I worked on. Let me give you the whole story, just very compressed. I'm originally from Germany. I've always been an entrepreneur, had a bunch of businesses in Germany, but always want to move to the West Coast because back then in Germany there was no startup scene, and this was very appealing what was happening in over in the States. So I sold my e-commerce business in Germany and moved to Los Angeles in 2009, and I co-founded a company called MaxCDN, which was a content delivery network, and we sold it 3 years ago or so. And after the sale, my wife wanted to move back to Germany, but I couldn't go back to German weather. So we ended up in the south of Turkey, where it's pretty much the same climate as in Los Angeles, but it's closer to the family in Germany. And this is where I'm right now. And for TaskDrive, my business partner Samir started TaskDrive. We provide lead research services and sales development reps for B2B sales companies. And I bought the business from Samir because after the sale, I was like semi-retired and was just hanging out and got really, really bored, and he wanted to get rid of the business. So it was a good opportunity. And I bought the business a little over a year ago, and we are a little over 100 people, and business is going good. And a lot of what we do is we help people with setting up meetings very often for events. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're really in the event world from multiple perspectives. That's really cool.
Yeah, I attend a lot of events. I think in business, it makes just such a difference, the trust that you gain when you actually meet somebody in person, and you're in the same room with the person, and it's just a different thing versus video conferencing, etc. It works well, but it's still a big difference when you meet somebody in person.
Yeah, you can't replace that face-to-face. I totally agree with you. Amazing. All right, so tell me, what in your experience, why are events important to you, or why do you feel they move your business forward?
So at MaxCDN, we in the beginning we always did trade show booths, and this worked okay, but we were a bootstrap business and we competed with all the really big guys, and our booth was always like tiny comparing to the ones that our giant competitors had. But we still made it work after we found out that if we figure out who's attending these conferences beforehand, then we set up meetings with these people, and this really gave us the ROI. Before it was always like, okay, we do this for branding and blah, but after we started doing the outreach and contacting people that are attending as well, and there's multiple ways on how we can find out who's attending, even if the event does not share the list of attendees, then really the ROI came in really, really strong. And this is the thing that worked really amazing with Maxi, and this is also the reason why we started TaskDrive, because this was this sales development, outreach, outbound sales game just worked so well that we want to share this with others as well.
Oh, awesome. So actually that just gave me a thought there. In terms of you just mentioned something I thought was funny about having a small booth and you're next to all these competitors with their massive booths. I as well had the experience of being at like the large enterprise companies like eBay and PayPal booth versus like the startup booth. And when you have the biggest booth in the room, it's great because hard to miss and you're this giant structured island. And then you think about all those people on the floor that are competing with you, like that 10 by 10 spot. Like, what was your take on like having that smaller booth, and did you feel like, wow, we're really getting an impact even at a smaller booth scale? Or do you have some other like creative ways you brought people into that 10 by 10 booth or whatever it was, table, etc.?
So one thing that worked really well, MaxCDN was a content delivery network, so we're all about speed. So we brought these race cars, the ones that are, no, the word in English, these cars that drive in a circle and you have like this thing to control them.
Oh, yeah. Like a Hot Wheels car or something.
No, I don't know if it's Hot Wheels. They're like on tracks and you control the speed of the car with like some device and you race against each other.
Like a remote control car.
Yeah, but on tracks, and
That's still pretty cool.
and
Kind of advanced, I would say.
it's like super old school. I had this when we had this when we were kids, and a lot of people loved the idea of these, and we let people race, and the winner could pick some swag that we had. So this is something that we had like this giant crowd at the booth. So this worked really, really well for lead generation. And another thing that was very successful for us was we just took the opposite approach versus like hitting up people and being annoying. We did the chill way, and we just didn't have really a booth. We just had a pop-up banner in the back, and we had MaxCDM branded beanbags in a circle in a spot, and we had a charging station in the middle where you could charge your cell phone, also MaxCDM branded. So people come by, charge their phone, and they hang out because it's comfy, and it's a perfect way to strike up a conversation, have a longer, in-depth conversation, and kind of build a relationship with the person that comes. And it's something that worked really, really well, and was actually copied by one of our competitors. But it's a different story.
You guys are thought leaders, though. It's okay. It's always a compliment when your competitors copy. Yes. It means you're doing something right.
Very true.
That's awesome. Oh, I love that idea. The racetrack one is so funny to me, just because I feel like when you even think about the makeup of a trade show, or also even myself included, like racing or anything competitive is so fun. And to your point, even like funny kids games, adults love them. So I can imagine a room full of effectively like sales people, and a mix of people, but definitely a lot of sales. And you're just like, go head to head. Here's your remote control. Whoever's going to win is going to get this prize. Like, I love that idea. I feel like we should.
Another thing, sorry for interrupting. Another thing that was, we were bootstrapped. Mm-hmm. And so we had to think outside of the box. And back then we had a cheetah as our mascot. And we actually built a cheetah mascot suit. So we had, so sometimes we were completely ghetto. We just bought a regular pass, not an exhibition pass. And so no booth. And we just smuggled this cheetah suit in, and somebody was wearing it and running around and taking pictures with people. And also taking pictures with all the exhibitors at their booths, and a lot of them shared this on their Twitter feed. The picture with us, like, hey, with the MaxCDM cheetah, etc. Or we had people take pictures with the cheetah, and if they shared it on social media, we gave them a free account or whatever. It's like the getaway of hacking the system.
So what I hear is you dressed up as a cheetah and walked around. Just kidding.
No. Like actually, yeah. The first time we did it, I had an intern who was helping in the marketing department, and he was going to the show as well. And he looked at the list of people who were attending, and he spoke out loud and said, like, "I wonder who's going to wear the cheetah suit." And then he's like, "Oh, fuck."
Oh God, I guess we all got to pay our dues, right? Everyone's had their equivalent of the cheetah suit one day. That's so funny. No, that's really cool though. I didn't know what he felt like. I feel like I see so many like scary and funny animals and people running around in costume. Like you felt like that was a great way to just get your name out there because it was very shareable, very, Twitter, Instagrammable, whatever the word.
Yep. Correct. Yeah, it's worked great.
Okay, that's so fantastic. Yeah. And even your point too about the charging station. I know that's a great sponsorship because people, when they charge their phone, they're trapped there. They have to charge their phone. So
they have to listen, yeah.
That's great. Either they sit there in silence without their phone awkwardly or they talk to you. So that's great. Captive audience. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Amazing. Okay. So sounds like that's kind of like your idea of your conferences and trade shows. You've got these great creative solutions to either have scrappy ways to save money without the booth and get exciting engagement through, you guys feel like you've done a kind of an interesting variety of stuff, which I'm impressed with because sometimes I feel you get one good idea and you go to the show year after year after year with the same thing, which is memorable, but maybe over time loses its sheen, etc. So I love that you guys are doing new fun stuff all the time.
Another thing we did was a conference survival kit because that's lots of conferences, especially in Vegas. The next day, a lot of people are really suffering from not sleeping, drinking too much, etc.
Mm.
So we had these Mexican branded bags that said Conference Survival Kit, and you could just pick them up at a booth, and they had like some emergency, some Advil, some 5-hour energy, and like a bunch of stuff that helps you to survive it. And the bag was really nice, so a lot of people actually kept the bags, and then it's a cool swag item that is actually being used. It doesn't end up somewhere.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, to me, that's also very thoughtful for the attendees because conferences, to your point, are grueling. Like, even if you're drinking and partying and have a great time, or even if you're not, you're in like this concrete gray room for 14 hours a day, and like on your feet, talking to people, interacting, like lots of stimulation and things going on. So definitely.
And then there's the after parties, etc. Yeah.
Right,
So very little sleep.
exactly. Yeah, so a solid 3 hours of sleep, you do it all again. I'm sure
That's fun. I love it.
Yeah, yep, definitely.
One thing that we also did is for conferences, sometimes we didn't get a booth, we just got a conference room. So when we set up meetings in advance, that we can meet with the people at a designated area. So it's not just like, oh, let's meet at the entrance.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all something that worked pretty well.
And when you got that conference room, was it something you booked with the show, like a pop-up space, or did you find like a local cafe that you just?
No. It was often in Vegas, the casinos, have these things, these extra meeting rooms that are designated, and you can put up your logos and stuff. Another hack is also that you just get a nice suite where you then can invite people, and you can do like your own parties there, or you can, just have meetings in the suite. Something that also works well. I haven't done it myself, but I see it more and more, that people get a nice suite and they set up a video studio, and then they get customers up there to do testimonials. It's also a really, really cool way to get, because testimonials, especially video testimonials, are something that's so powerful. And once you already have your customers together, like, why not bring them up and, do that shoot? You have them all there together.
That's a great idea, actually. I feel like I hadn't heard of that one, where like you're leveraging the suite. Like, you're right, like a bunch of your customers are probably attending as well. So you just have them do like, 30-second, maybe a couple minute long testimonials in the suite, and then you're done. You've got these great series of testimonials you can share out. That's a great idea. I'm going to do that.
Do it.
That's right. All right, cool. So then you got a lot of fun tricks and hacks here. So obviously I love the idea of the suite, because especially in Vegas, some of the suites are gorgeous, and like it's exhausting to be in the conference room, and sometimes the rooms are like a mile walk away. So having a little like quiet space and relief and somewhere comfortable for either prospects or customers to come obviously sounds like racing cars or anything competitive is a great way to get engagement, or dressing in a cheetah suit and forcing your poor dear intern to do this. Sounds like definitely some cool stuff.
Other event types that we've been doing, also something that works actually well for at conferences as well, but even not during conferences, is to do founder or influencer dinners. So it's you just pick people that are relevant multipliers or potential customers, and we always cap it at 10, otherwise it gets a little bit out of control. And then you invite these people to a nice restaurant, and then ideally you get like 1 or 2 anchor people that are coming that have a big name in the industry. So it's like, hey, we're doing this influencer dinner, XYZ is coming as well, would love to invite you. It's a great conversation starter. And if you put these things together, even if you're not if you put them together, everybody definitely knows you. It's just like a really like thought leader. Even if you don't say that much, it's like a thought leader type of thing to do. And in terms of organizing them, what we do is it's just very straightforward. We do in the beginning, everybody around the table does like an introduction of what they do, who they are, maybe what they're currently looking for, what positions they hire, or kind of where they can need some help, and maybe something they can offer. And then you do this around the room, and after halftime you change seats so everybody sits next to somebody else, and that's all the magic. It works really, really great. People really love this. And you can do this during conferences because people are already at this location. So, it's even easier since they're all there already. Or you can do this any city that you travel to, or if even in your hometown. It's very, very, very effective to build real relationships with people, kind of playing the long game, not just like, hey, buy my stuff, just like versus building a proper relationship.
Yeah. So I love that kind of like changing seats / musical chairs approach, because I feel like one of the frustrations or issues with definitely those VIP dinner type events is that you sit down and you hope you sit next to somebody you want to talk to. And if not, you're stuck there for anywhere from 1 to 3 hours with the same two people. So like networking is such a vital like piece of success of those events for obviously the host, but then for the attendees, they want to talk to everyone who's there. So I love that you kind of force everyone to get up, move around, and change seats.
Another hack that I just remembered that is very simple and powerful. I always tag everybody I meet at each conference. And, so if I meet somebody at SaaStock, then I just like do SaaStock _ where the city. And next time when the conference is coming up, I just look at this database and look at everybody who has this tag there. And everybody who's interesting, I'll reach out to and say like, hey, are you going to this conference again? It's like a very simple way of like kind of connecting up front and making sure you deepen this relationship.
Oh, so you reach out to them on like LinkedIn, you're saying, and then just say,
yeah,
hey,
or send them an email like, hey, it was great hanging out last year at XYZ conference. Are you going this year again?
Oh, got it. So for like those, like we'll call it like VIP prospects who you met, you're like, hey, looking forward to see you again. Let's regroup at same place, same time.
Yeah, let's grab a coffee or whatever. It's always for the long game.
Yeah.
It's like kind of building these relationships up over time.
Got it. So it sounds like what you're saying is for your influencer dinners, the long game or that slow relationship building is definitely more the goal or ROI that you see from those dinners versus maybe just sitting in the booth for maybe quick lead gen or scan some badges kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, this is maybe something for somebody who's in sales, that they really focus on, just like have to meet my quota, have to make some deals. But I think it's always smarter if you really think long game and kind of you build up this giant network of people that where you can always see like how can you provide value to them, and then at some points value will come back inevitably.
Oh, got it. Yeah. So you're saying if you're a sales guy and you have to meet the quota, like you kind of just you do the booth booty. That's booth duty.
Booth duty.
It's like a dance I'm gonna come up with right now. The booth booty. Rather, you do the booth duty and you collect your leads, you meet your quota, so boss is happy. But then also from either maybe like a more senior sales level or even from the founder executive level, it's building those long-lasting relationships.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you can afford, I think it's always good. It doesn't matter in which position you are, that you build these deep relationships with people. Sometimes when you're a junior sales guy, you probably don't have the time to do it because you have to produce, or maybe you don't have to. When you're green behind the ears, you potentially can't offer that much because often the type of value they can provide is connections that you have or knowledge that you have about certain things that can be useful. If you can provide value, then you can always focus on the long game.
Oh, got it. Yeah. And I imagine that's true of also your account management team, that for the long-term retention of customers, those dinners must be really, really crucial.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. All right. So what I'm going to do sounds like definitely going to get everyone in the room for a video, then take every other customers down for dinner. You're giving me a new game plan. That's wonderful.
Another type of event we did a lot at Max CDN is meetups. So we had a very big conference room. I think it's like, I don't know, 80 people or something like this.
Wow.
And so we reached out to people who were already running meetups and said like, hey, don't you want to have your meetup at our place? We pay for pizza and beer or pizza and drinks. And you just come have the meetup here, and we just get the brand strengthening effect because they talk about us. We can get some airtime in terms of addressing them, and this was a really good way for us to build up the thought leader position and get our name out there, meet people that we can recruit, meet prospects, etc. And it's not a lot of effort to do that. You just hit up the people that are running meetups already on meetup.com, and ask them to have them at your space.
So in terms of the timeline between booth and conferences, meetups, and then the influencer dinners, would you say like booth and conferences are the quickest hit for just like scanning badge, get a lead? But then the meetups are like the mid-tier level where people may come by for 10, 20, 30 minutes, maybe an hour, but then they get a little more exposure to you and some deeper engagement at some like smaller event you're hosting, like cost savings, pizza and beer sounds great. And then the influencer dinners are like the largest amount of time, obviously largest investment as well for your time. And would you say that what kind of returns do you see, or what are those goals for those three different time length tiers?
I think the booth, the conference booth, and meetings that you set up by reaching out to people who are also attending the conference, that's like, more focused on direct sales. Meetups is more, I guess, brand building or awareness. And the majority of people that we got was like, we got really good hires out of this. And the influencer dinners is like, beating, like either talking to really big potential customers where you can afford to invest a lot of time and resources to eventually close them, or to connect with influencers or potential partners and channel partners, etc. So,
But you just said something interesting. You said at the meetups you got a lot of potential hires, like internally. Oh,
yeah.
can you say a little more about that? I think that's really fascinating.
I mean, for Maxian was, as I mentioned a few times, a content delivery network, so fairly technical, and hiring good engineers is, not the easiest thing these days. And we sponsored mainly technology related events, so a lot of developers and system admins, etc. Like the people that are potential hires for us, also potential customers when they work at other companies. We got exposed to them, and when we open up the meetup, we can say like, hey, whatever, thanks for coming, blah blah. By the way, we're hiring for XYZ position, so get it out there, and then people already see the people. It's a different thing when you apply somewhere and you've already met a bunch of people that work there. You've been at their office. You see it. It's cool crowd, and you feel you could fit in there versus like applying blind somewhere or being hit up by a recruiter.
Oh, got it. Oh, that's so interesting. But to me, this is like a completely brilliant hiring tactic where you're having the meetup, obviously, with probably a sales goal, it sounds like, for your prospects, or during the event. Maybe it's not during the event. But then as people are leaving, especially when they're the demographic you're looking for, mentioning that you're also hiring, like, I think that's a great way, to your point, get the vibe of the company or the culture, or even just meet those prospects live first before they're actually going through the interview process. That's genius.
Actually, we with the meetups, we never really had a goal. We never tracked like how many sales do we generate from this. It was just more like kind of doing something that's the right thing to do to engage with our tribe of tech nerds. So yeah.
Got it. Okay. So, and actually, in on that same line of thinking, then, how do you guys track either those critical sales touch points or even the long tail touch points of like building relationship? May not be like, in order to build a relationship, we need to talk to this person 10 times before they actually like us. Like, how do you guys think about those multi-touch attribution or event touch points and how they play into your anything, sales cycle or account management, hiring, it sounds like?
We track in our Salesforce or in our TaskDrive, where we met the prospect first, which conference it was, to kind of get a gauge on like how much ROI are we getting on the investments that we have in these conferences. But it's could be way more sophisticated, but right now it's just not the case for us.
Yeah, no, I mean, as long as the sales are coming in and as long as you're feeling the value from that in-person interaction that we talked about earlier, obviously there's playing a big role, because at the end of the day, the dollar's got to matter. When you got a certain budget, you get a certain return, there's math there.
Often I also get like from these influencer dinners or founder dinners, people understand what I'm doing and I have a good personal relationship with them, and then they often just refer me business over. So it's not that we close the people that are there, but just like kind of educating people on what we're doing, and then this, and kind of providing them some value, even by putting together this influencer dinner. You provide value because you bring them together with peers or with people that are interesting for them, and then it's the law of reciprocity. They always want to give back, and so it just kind of comes naturally.
Oh, yeah. So actually, that's a really, I think, something that's very unique and important to discuss, especially in the event world, where there is a revenue focused ROI. But from a leadership perspective or even a sales perspective, if all you're doing is focusing on the revenue dollars that you get the return from the event, it may not look so good, or it may not be the most measurable, because how do you quantify exposure, thought leadership, etc. But to your point about just getting in a room full of either like-minded people or being the thought leader, or just like being in the room full of wonderful human beings, other things happen. You have additional benefits beyond the money, such as you build a relationship, and that sometimes translates to dollars. Not that that's the goal, but people trust you, like you, they refer you, you had treated them to a lovely dinner. So they're like, oh, you know what? I might not be the right fit, but my good friend would love to talk to you. They're looking for something like this. So I always think, oh yeah, go ahead.
Or some co-marketing activities that come from this, or my mantra is always just like providing as much value as humanly possible to as many people as possible, because money is a side effect of providing value. So I just like do my best to find ways on how I can provide value to people.
Yeah, you're just being a good guy, you're doing your best to educate or share knowledge or make connections, partnerships, and good things come from that. I totally agree. Amazing. Oh, wow. Okay. So sounds like you guys have 3 different types of events that you focus on, or rather that you've experienced some sort of ROI, whether that's actually a tangible dollar metric or some other less tangible thought leadership or brand building, etc. So you have your booths, trade shows, conferences, your meetups, and then your influencer/founder dinners. What I'd love to hear, even though you covered this a little bit, was there any additional stories or anything else that you had from either any kind of events where you felt like the event was really special, or this was the best event we've ever had because of X?
Once I I was never a sales guy, so I never really went to these scheduled meetings at these conferences with prospects. And once I went, and then I experienced like how well the sales development that we've been doing at Maxian actually works. I went to the NMX in, was it NMX? No, it was a marketing conference in Germany, the Mexico, yeah, right. And I was already in Germany because I visited family, and being German, it makes sense to send a German guy to the conference. So I thought like, okay, I'll go. And I had 9 meetings the first day and 13 meetings the next day. It was crazy how many meetings we had booked. And just from these meetings was kind of like, was very hectic and stressful, back to back meetings. We closed 3 really, really big accounts just like a few months after these meetings, and they were all cold. So it's like something that was really mind-blowing to me on how well this works. And that you can actually close cold accounts, or people that reach out cold for large amounts of money after just a few months.
So you're saying you met them for the very, very first time randomly at the event, and then 3 months later, sale was done.
Yes, correct. And very big enterprise.
Would you say that was a faster than average sales cycle because you had that interaction, or it was the average?
I mean, otherwise this would have never happened.
I see. So you're saying just like that random benefit of you show up, you meet somebody, and sales just magically come in because you had that connection.
Yes, yeah, correct.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay. And then do you feel like, did you get any feedback from either those prospects or having conversations with people over time about that felt more genuine or kind of interesting information you gathered because you'd met them? Because I feel like I had a similar experience where I recently randomly met someone at a trade show. We really hit it off, had a great conversation, and it turned into a sale just because we had a very natural conversation and because we connected about things that was more my personality. Like we talked about food, for example. So I love food. I'm a big foodie. All over New York City, I'm constantly hunting down stuff. And this person was like, I really love food, but this is my first time in New York City. So we had a great chat about something totally unrelated to the sale. And because of that, we built a great rapport. And then that translated into, oh, by the way, what do you guys do? And
Yep, this is, yeah, because you provide this person value. It doesn't, you don't necessarily have to provide value in, for their business, but you provide them value for giving them probably restaurant tips where this person can go in New York while they're here.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
just about providing value and building trust with people.
Yeah, yeah. Or just, I think, just being a genuine person and being willing to share helpful knowledge other than like, hey, you want to buy? How about now? How about now? Doesn't always work, I feel.
That doesn't work now.
That's really cool. Okay, yeah, I love that. I feel like that interaction, especially when even at the trade show in the booth, like hunting down people, like, hey, do you have 5 minutes? Can we talk? Let me just tell you about the company really fast. Like, not the best tactic because, it feels definitely a little bit alarming. And then when you don't know what you're being asked, it's sometimes tough to just be like, okay, I'll give you 10 minutes of my valuable time and hope this conversation makes sense, but I'm not really interested. So
it's always works better when you ask like what the other person does. Like when somebody walks by, like, hey, what are you doing? Like, look at the badge, like, okay, what does blah blah do? What XYZ company that you work for? What's your position? And kind of, this is how I always approach this. Whenever I meet somebody, I ask a few questions to see if there's a way that I can provide value to this person. Kind of figuring out like, what kind of challenges they have, and it doesn't have to be necessarily related to what TaskDrive does or any of my other companies, but just providing value.
Yeah, no, and I think what you just said is really hits the nail on the head. Like, you are listening to that person to see how you can be helpful to them, which to me makes a huge difference, especially when it comes from, you genuinely want to provide value to them no matter what it is. And people can feel that and sense that. So versus providing value through selling them your solution directly is always great for, maybe the revenue line, but not always what the person needs. So listening, I think that's key for sure. Awesome. Well, then in that case, now that we've talked about all the fun and wonderful things that happen at events, such as meeting people, having those genuine connections and great conversations, do you have a story about a time where either something went horribly wrong at the event or just any cautionary tales when, it sounds like you've done a large number of events over time now, different kinds of events. Anything you'd like to share that maybe wasn't so wonderful? And
There's one time I'm also a really big fan of good swag, like kind of giving people that they actually use, and that's really cool because this kind of triggers word of mouth, and word of mouth marketing is the best thing you can do. And people love to talk about stuff that's good, but they need a trigger, and swag is the perfect trigger. Where somebody asks like, hey, what's this mug that you have, or what's that that brand on the shirt or whatever, right? And then people can talk positively about your brand. So for a gaming event in Los Angeles, we made bags with a French press, some Blue Bottle coffee. Blue Bottle was just like the hot thing in the tech scene, and a mug, a Maxi mug. And we gave this to all the speakers that spoke at this event. So we kind of had this in the speaker room, and we kind of, we sponsored the speaker lounge, and we just gave these things out to the speakers. And just a few days before the event, the mugs arrived, and they were really pretty. The writing was in our Maxi in orange, but at the bottom of the mugs was a sticker that said, "The color that's been used to make this mug is known to cause cancer in the state of California." And we were like, okay, that's great. We cannot give this to our customers, And so yeah, we had to really rush and pay a lot of money extra to use another vendor to get some Maxi mugs done in time for this event.
Yeah, that's such a great story to me. I love the contrast of you just taking like, the most premium, some of the most expensive, trendiest Blue Bottle coffee, and then these cancer causing mugs that you're like, we can't serve these to our customers. We don't want to give people cancer today. That's a great story. And then I feel like even in that same vein, that's a very, like, that to me happens almost at any kind of event where like you plan it out months, years in advance down to the T. Every I is dotted, T is crossed. And then the day before you're like, we have to order hundreds of mugs that don't have cancer in them. What do we do? Thinking on your feet is a very crucial part of the event process, I feel.
It's everybody who's done a few live events knows that's just part of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely part of the game. I've definitely been there with some what I thought was really wonderful swag and got some questionable return depending on like the best I saw was there is a picture, I think I saw this online, like a picture of a mug and it had like a beautiful picture of a painting on it. But then when they ordered the mug, it was literally the picture on the internet where like it was somebody's mug with a picture on the mug on the mug, if that makes sense, like Inception mug, where somebody was like, I thought I was getting a mug with the picture on it, not a picture of a mug on my mug. I was like, that's clever. Imagine getting that for your trade show. Oh man, amazing. Well, it's absolutely lovely chatting with you, David. I love the stories you shared. Sounds like a lot of the events you do range in terms of an ROI perspective of obviously thought leadership, relationship building, either for prospects or long-term partnerships and customers, as well as lead generative and revenue based. Is there anything else you'd like to add or share in any of those things?
No, I think we touch upon a few really cool things that your audience can implement in their next trade shows. And in case anybody needs some help with appointment setting, you can always reach out to us. It's taskdrive.com, or you can email me at david@taskdrive.com. We'd love to help you to get more out of your get more ROI out of your investment that you do into conferences.
Yeah, you gave me some ideas that I'm definitely going to implement. So I appreciate that. Wonderful. Thanks again for your time. Definitely valuable insights. And thanks again for joining. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Same here. Thank you for having me.